Welcome everyone to our webinar. Today's topic is Solo 401k, Establish Yours Before Year End. My name is Natalie with Sense Financial, and we are a boutique financial firm specializing in self-directed retirement accounts with Checkbook-controlled. I'm here with Brett Sininsky. Again, he's our speaker today. Brett is a solo 401k and a self-directed IRA consultant here at Sense Financial. He has a professional journey spanning over 18 years in real estate investing. He's also a licensed California real estate agent, and his passion lies in empowering people to attain financial independence, affording them the possibility of an early retirement. Thank you, Brett, for joining us and taking the time to present today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Natalie. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sounds good.
Awesome. All right. Yes. And one more quick note, we are not a fiduciary. We do not provide legal advice. If you need any sort of legal or accounting advice, please seek out the proper professional. And it's good to see so many of you on today's call. I really appreciate it. There's a great bookkeeper in the group here. Her name is Juliana Gladstone. So if you need a bookkeeper and you're hearing this, you should reach out to me because I would love to connect you to Juliana. And also another good buddy of mine who's a great mortgage lender, Troy Martin, is also here today. Thank you so much for you guys and for everybody else joining. And if you guys want a connection to a great mortgage lender licensed in multiple states, hit me up. But that's not what we're here to talk about. So I digress. My apologies. We are here to talk about the solo 401k primarily. We are going to touch a little bit on the self-directed IRA because we offer that also, but the self-directed IRA can really be set up anytime, and there isn't a calendar. That the calendar does not really dictate when you should set up a self-directed IRA like it does the solo 401k in some circumstances. So we are going to cover what I mean by that. So yeah, solo 401k, establish yours before year end. And again, I'm Brett. That's my contact info. Going to talk a little bit about why you should listen to us. Well, Dmitry Fomachenko started this company back in 2010. So we're way past the startup phase. It's been nearly 15 years. We have helped over 3,000 clients establish well over 4,000 different types of self-directed retirement accounts. We have 5-star reviews on BiggerPockets, Trustpilot, Better Business Bureau, Google, Yelp, pretty much anywhere you go where you can look up reviews. We are there. You should definitely check them out if you're shopping for a provider similar to us. I highly encourage you to check testimonials before you do business with any company. And so that's why you should listen to us. Our mission is to help clients obtain control of and protect their retirement accounts. Proverbs 21:5 says, good planning and hard work lead to prosperity. You work hard for your money. We want to come alongside you and work hard with you as well on what it is that we may help you do, which is set up a self-directed retirement account. And so just real quick, want to talk about the difference between conventional versus self-directed. On the left side there, you have the bus, subway, train, call it whatever you want, but it's on a track. You have to get there at a certain time, get on at a certain time, get off at a certain time. To get there, you have to get a ride, take an Uber, get dropped off, walk maybe. Also, when you get dropped off, you have to walk or drive or get an Uber to your next destination or your ultimate destination. And so you're restricted to a certain track at certain times. That's the conventional side of investing. Nothing wrong with Wall Street, by the way, at all. It's made a lot of people a lot of money over the years. However, we're not here to talk about Wall Street. We're here to talk about the self-directed side of things. And so that's the off-road vehicle in this example that can, not only can it go where the train can go, but it can also go off-road. It can go over rocks, as you can see there. It can go on the sidewalks. Not that you should do that. It can go on the streets. And so we're going to talk about the self-directed side of things. And what can you invest in on the self-directed side? Well, we believe it offers true diversification because when we help you unlock your retirement funds, whether it's an IRA or 401k, you can actually invest, and these are just some examples. It's impossible to have an exhaustive list of things, but cryptocurrency, precious metals, private lending. A lot of our clients do private lending, real estate, both commercial and residential, tax deeds. You name it, you can pretty much do it. The IRS doesn't tell you what you can't do. What you can do. They only tell you what you can't do. So if somebody says they have a list of approved investments from the IRS, that's not true. No such list exists. The only thing they tell you you cannot invest in is life insurance and collectibles. So sorry, you can't go buy a bunch of Bugattis with your self-directed IRA. I wish you could, but IRS doesn't allow it. By the way, probably because somebody abused that. Forgot the scripture on the bottom, Ecclesiastes 11:2, divide your portion to 7 or even to 8, for you do not know what misfortune may occur on the earth. And we have been very blessed as a nation, very fortunate. Probably the last thing was COVID-19 that caused a little bit of a dip, but shortly after that, things started to go up again, real estate included. Prior to that, of course, was 2008, 2009. Don't know if something like that will happen in the future. It probably will over a certain period of time. Who knows? But if you are diversified, and I'm not talking about the S&P 500 and 500 different companies, yes, you're somewhat diversified, and there's nothing wrong with investing in that. But what I'm talking about is truly different asset classes. Real estate being probably one of the most secure types of investments, not necessarily holding the actual rental property in your portfolio, maybe, yes, but also private lending, investing that's secured by a hard asset like real estate is generally a pretty safe bet, with some exceptions, of course, as I just noted. So I want to give you a quick example. Brad and Jennifer out of Phoenix, Arizona. Yes, their names were changed. Real estate team, primarily helping people buy and sell the place they call home. Brad came to us at Sense Financial several years ago and said, I've got this money. I used to work for a W-2 job, not anymore. It's rolled over into an IRA, and it's been in Wall Street. It's done well, but I've recently heard that I can do what I'm doing personally, which is owning real estate as investments. I can do in my 401k. So we actually established a solo 401k for Brad and his wife, and they're in business together. So they're both participating in the same solo 401k plan. His goal was diversification, of course. And his result, he actually did some Roth contributions along the way, and I think some conversions, but he has at this point millions of dollars in his Roth IRA. And he owns rentals, single family and multifamily type real estate in his IRA. And in his Roth, all of that money, all the income, of course, all of it's going to be tax free at retirement. He's already over 59 and a half. So no RMDs on those Roth funds, and he can withdraw that money anytime without any taxes or penalties, which is a beautiful thing. So I said that I would talk about the IRA briefly, and I will. The self-directed IRA is a product that, and the reason there's a diverse group of people there on the left is because pretty much anybody can do a self-directed IRA. Now, generally speaking, because the annual contribution limit is a little bit lower, a lot lower than the 401k, literally 10 times the difference, 7,000 or 8,000 if you're over 50. Generally speaking, when we establish an IRA for somebody, they roll over existing funds, retirement funds, into that self-directed IRA, because to start out from scratch is kind of hard, especially if you're going to do non-Wall Street type investing. And don't misunderstand me, there's some crowdfunding type opportunities where you can invest as little as, I've seen $250. Can't remember the name of the company off the top of my head. Hopefully I'll think of it before this is over. But as little as $250, crowdfunding type investing, secured by real estate. And so even at 7,000, I suppose it's possible to do non-Wall Street assets. But generally speaking, people roll over money into the IRA. And the rollovers can be any type of qualified retirement account. 401k. Now, if it's a 401k, generally speaking, it needs to be, and by the way, everything I'm saying applies to the solo 401k as well. But generally speaking, the 401k needs to be from a former employer plan. If it's a current employer and you're under 50, usually you can't roll it out. If you're over 50 and you're interested in rolling 401k funds out, it might be worth asking your plan administrator to check out the adoption agreement and for the 401k, and asking them if you can do what's called an in-service rollover. In-service rollover meaning you stay employed there, but they allow you to roll over some of the funds, usually only the contributions, matching, profit sharing, that sort of thing from your employer usually cannot be touched during that employment there. But anyway, I digress. 401k, 403b, IRA, of course, Roth IRA, traditional IRA can all be rolled over into a self-directed IRA. And same thing with the solo 401k, with one exception, and that is the Roth IRA. Once an IRA, once Roth funds are IRA funds, they cannot, or in an IRA rather, they have to stay an IRA. Unfortunately, maybe that'll change. I don't know. Now, a Roth 401k can go into a solo 401k. All right. And I'll touch more on this in a minute, but just wanted to briefly touch on the IRA. Solo 401k is for the self-employed and their spouse primarily. Okay. Hence the word solo, right? Bible says you and your spouse shall become one. So in the eyes of the IRS, when it comes to the solo 401k, you and your spouse are one person, hence the name solo. You cannot do the solo 401k if you have full-time W-2 employees outside of yourself and a spouse. Then you get into the group 401k plans, okay? And we don't help with those, and you generally can't self-direct them into alternative assets. 1099 contract employees is okay. Temporary labor is not okay, but 1099 independent contractors are just fine. What are the benefits of being self-employed? Now, I want to just briefly touch on this. You may be here, maybe you're not self-employed. Don't jump off the call just because we're talking about something that is only for the self-employed, because quite honestly, it's not hard to become self-employed, especially with the gig economy. That's the Ubers, the DoorDash, those types of jobs where you can kind of clock in and clock out whenever you want, and you're 1099, you qualify for legitimate self-employment activity, which is what the IRS says is required to sponsor a solo 401k plan. Some of the benefits of being self-employed is that the IRS guidelines and rules are drawn up. The tax law is for the self-employed. I mean, you can write off so many different things being self-employed. You get to be your own boss. In some cases, you get to build residual income. You can help people. I love what I do, because when we get on when I get on a consultation call with somebody and we're just talking through their situation, of course I'd love them to become a client. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, but it doesn't always make sense. And so I believe that if I can provide value to that person and help them go in the right direction, whether they become a client or not, then I've done my job on that call. And so I love what I do, and I'm self-employed. And we get to help people. You get to make more money, hopefully. And we talked about the deductions and working from home and all that. So don't jump off just because you're not self-employed. But here's how the 401k plan works, okay? First of all, you have to have a sponsor, an adopting business. Now, this business can be set up as a sole proprietor, a corporation, S Corp, C Corp, doesn't matter, LLC, filing as an S Corp or C Corp, partnership, etc. It can be whatever type of business you want. There is some nuance if it's a partnership. I'm not going to go into the weeds on that, but nevertheless, that type, and it doesn't have to be a spouse in the partnership, but that type of business can qualify to sponsor a solo 401k. So once you've have that, and you say, I'm ready to go, the plan sponsor adopts the plan. So the adoption agreement and the plan is created, and the trust, it is a trust. Okay. You are the trustee. That's you, that little dude there with the black jacket and the brown hair. And the solo 401k trust is what actually holds all the assets. So all accounts, all investments, everything are held in the solo 401k trust. Also, if you buy if you use the 401k to invest in real estate, as an example, title will be in the name of the solo 401k trust. So it'll be something like Brett Sininsky solo 401k plan, and that would be what's on title. That's what's going to go on all the documents associated with everything that has to do with this plan. And so because you're the trustee, you can actually make these investment decisions as the fiduciary of the plan. Also, you're the plan administrator. There is no custodian. So you're responsible for making the right decisions. And what that means is investment wise, right? Like your goal as the fiduciary is to grow the account as quickly, as aggressively, and safely, there's a balance there, as you can. And the money goes into and out of that bank account. So let me back up a little bit. As the trustee, you can actually open up a brokerage account at Fidelity, Vanguard, wherever, but you can also open up a checking account, just a regular checking account, which we're going to help you with. When you open this checking account, that's the home, if you will, where the money will be held until it's deployed into whatever investment you choose. Okay, so the income and the expenses associated with everything that the 401k is investing in actually must go into and out of that home, that checking account, and not anywhere else, right? Because you don't want to cause an accidental distribution or whatever. And so that's your job as the trustee, and that's the setup. Now, the contributions I mentioned, they're 10 times higher than the IRA, and they are. If you're over 50 and older, you can contribute up to $76,500 per year per participant, right? So if you have a husband and wife run business, maybe one spouse is the business owner and one is on payroll, that's fine. You can both participate in the plan. If you're under 50, the max is $69,000. Now, I want to talk about the different buckets, right? So you have the employer hat and you have the employee hat as being a self-employed individual. So when you're self-employed, you're working on the business sometimes, and sometimes you're working in the business. And so you're essentially making money in a couple of different ways. But the IRS allows you to make what are called employer profit sharing contributions and also employee elective deferral contributions. And so what that means is with the employee contributions, also known as the elective deferral, you can contribute up to $23,000 each for 2024. Not sure if that'll go up in 25 or not. And if you're over 50, you have a $7,500 catch up on that. So that's $30,500. And you can contribute up to 100% of your self-employment income, right? So if you make, let's call it $33,000, you could put in $30,500 of that if you're over 50. If you made 24,000, you do need to account for a little bit of tax, FICA, Medicare, that sort of thing. Then you're going to be able to put in 23. Obviously, check with your CPA on the exact numbers on how that works, but it's not a match. On the profit sharing side, it is a match. Roughly 20% of the profit or 25% of the W-2 for the year is what you can put in as a contribution to the 401k on top of the elective deferral. So simple math. Let's say you pay yourself, you're a LLC filing as an S Corp, you're paying yourself payroll of $100,000. You can put in, if you're under 50, 23,000 plus another 25% of the 100, 25,000, right? So 25,000 plus the 23 is what you can contribute for that year in that scenario. Okay, so I just want to make that as simple as I can. Proverbs 21:20 says, the wise man saves for the future, but the foolish man spends whatever he gets. So yes, we want to save and live under our means if we can. So kind of went through this already, so I'm actually not going to belabor that. I do want to talk about using leverage. Not all of our clients, but a lot of them want to invest in real estate inside of their retirement account, and you can get a loan. Now, it must be non-recourse, which means the property is the only security. You and your immediate family are disqualified parties to the retirement account. So what I'm talking about goes for both the IRA and the 401k. And which basically means you cannot provide, in this scenario of leverage, you can't provide a personal guarantee for the loan. So if the 401k or IRA defaults on payments, the property is the only security for the lender to be made whole again. And because it's generally a riskier loan, because there's no personal guarantee, it requires a little more down, 30 to 50% down. Interest rate's going to be a little higher. I think somebody said they got one for like 9.5 the other day. So it's not that much higher, but it is a little bit higher. More down. Property needs to cash flow, of course. couple $100 a month. It doesn't have to be an outrageous amount of cash flow. And you do have to have some reserves. We do have a list of lenders on our website there, SenseFinancial.com /non-recourse lenders. If you want to go check out, I think there's 10 or 12 different non-recourse lenders you can talk to, and they all have different terms. In fact, some of the terms and conditions of the loans are actually right there on the website, so you don't even have to call to just get a glance. And then, at the risk of rabbit holing, this will trigger a UDFI tax in the IRA. UDFI is unrelated debt finance income, which is generated from the income portion of the property that's related to the leverage. So if it's 50% financed, 50% of the mortgage, 50% of the income from that property is going to generate this UDFI tax, which actually triggers what's called UBIT tax, unrelated business income tax. And this tax scales up to 37%. Doesn't mean it doesn't make sense to buy real estate inside of your IRA. It might. The numbers need to make sense. Here's why. Out of that portion that's subject to the UDFI, you actually can deduct expenses and depreciation and the first $1,000 before the UDFI tax is calculated, the up to 37%. So it scales up to 37%. Once it gets to about 12,500 of income for the year is when it hits that 37. Again, after depreciation, after expenses, and after subtracting the first $1,000. So if you're doing something like a syndication in your IRA, for the first 2 to 3 years, generally there's, because of the cost segregation and all the expenses related and write-offs, even though you're getting money deposited into your IRA account each month, each quarter, whatever it is, they're reporting losses. And so generally there isn't any UDFI or UBIT on that real estate to worry about. Now, it's important to note that the solo 401k is actually exempt from this tax on leveraged real estate. Okay. You could still have UBIT tax on the solo 401k outside of real estate, which basically means if you're running an active business, because these accounts are designed to be invested in passively, not actively, right? So if you're flipping a bunch of houses, you're probably going to be subject to that UBIT tax, whether it's the IRA or the 401k, because that's an active business. That's not passive. You could do a couple flips a year. It's all about what is the nature of the plan, right? If you're doing private lending or even buying and holding rentals, and maybe you do a flip or two a year because the numbers just make more sense to do that instead of a buy and hold, you're probably going to be okay. But if you're doing 5, 6, 8 flips a year and you're maybe buying one rental property a year, you're going to have to pay that UBIT tax. So it can still make sense to do that. It's just you need to run the numbers and understand what that looks like. So get together with your tax advisor to figure that out. So what are the disallowed investments? Well, the disallowed investments, I said collectibles and life insurance. There are some ways that the solo 401k can invest in life insurance, but IRA is not allowed to at all. And so baseball cards, stamps, Bugattis, like I said, paintings, that sort of thing is disallowed. The other thing is disqualified person. So I said immediate family, but to be more specific, it's actually you, your spouse, your parents, your grandparents, your children, and their spouses are all disqualified persons to the account. What does that mean? That means none of these people can personally benefit from anything that the retirement account invests in or owns. Again, for the IRA, 401k, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. If you use your IRA to buy a rental property in, I don't know, whatever state you might send your daughter to college at, your daughter could not go stay at that rental property if it's owned by the IRA. Okay, she's a disqualified person. Even if she's paying full market rent, it doesn't matter. You can't do that. You could not, as a licensed real estate agent, I cannot represent my retirement plan on a purchase. Even if I give all my commission up, I can't, because I'm providing a service, which you can't do. and potentially I'll also be getting paid. So you'd be violating 2 rules there, or 1 if I give up all my commission. It doesn't matter. You still can't do that. So a good way to think about this is you can do the white collar work on assets that are owned by the retirement plan, but you cannot do the blue collar work. In other words, I cannot swing a hammer, but I can hire the person that's going to swing the hammer. I can walk through a rental property. If I'm rehabbing it to get it rented, I can walk through. I can pick out the tile. It doesn't matter. I just can't lay the tile myself. I can walk through and make sure that the the finishings are being done properly, and I can talk to the GC about everything. That's fine. I just can't do the actual work myself. So that's how that works. So I want to talk real quick. I don't have a slide for this, but we're coming up at the end of the year. Okay, we have 5 weeks or so left, and our solo 401k setup process is about 4 days. Now, you as the client are somewhat the pacing factor for this, because we need you to complete a form that gives us your information when you become a client, so we can actually start our process. Once that's done, there's a couple things you need to do to along the way to move the process along, but it's about 4 days. Okay. Now, I don't recommend you wait until December 26th to do this, because technically we could probably still pull it off, but I don't recommend you wait. Here's why. If you want to make contributions for 2024, primarily if you're in S Corp filing, you need to make those elective deferral contributions before the year is over. Why? Because they have to be done through your payroll. Okay. Now you can still do the profit sharing contribution up until you file, but the plan must be established in 2024 for you to make 2024 contributions. Okay. So this isn't something that you want to wait on if you're going to take advantage of 2024 contributions, primarily if you're S Corp filing. If you're sole proprietor, there's some more flexibility there, but I definitely don't recommend waiting. Time is money. And the more you get into the new year, the more of the 2024 money you're going to have spent, and may not have some to contribute if you wanted to do that. And remember, and I can't remember if I said this or not, I think I did, but you can actually make Roth style contributions or pre-tax contributions to the 401k. All right. The IRA, as I mentioned, is either a traditional IRA, self-directed or otherwise, or it's a Roth IRA, self-directed or otherwise. The solo 401k has both Roth and pre-tax components built into it. Okay, so your choice. Do I want to pay taxes on the seed, or do I want to pay taxes on the harvest? I think the answer is obvious if you can afford the tax hit. Obviously, there's some more benefits to the Roth IRA 401k. It doesn't matter. There's no RMDs on it, and you can actually remove or distribute to yourself, withdraw, I should say. It's not even a distribution per se, the principal at any time without taxes or penalties, because it's already been taxed. And so the Roth has a lot of advantages. I think generally speaking, the more money you can get into a Roth, the better, because it's just going to make retirement that much sweeter to not have to pay Uncle Sam again, right? And by the way, you can do Roth conversions. So within the solo 401k, if you have traditional money in there, let's say it's $100,000, you can actually convert that money into Roth funds. You could do it all in one chunk in 1 year. You're going to pay taxes on whatever that dollar amount is up to your tax rate. So get with your CPA on what that looks like, but you can convert it within that plan. So now you have $100,000 that was traditional money, and now it's Roth funds, and you pay taxes on it today. So you never have to pay taxes on it again, and you can self-direct it into whatever asset class you want. Another note is you can convert assets in addition to cash, right? So you can convert a property or a real estate note, a private loan, whatever it is, as well as the cash. It's totally up to you. You just have to get a valuation done. So whatever the valuation is, less the loan amount, if it's real estate, is what you would end up converting to Roth. So it can be a pretty cool way to kind of save a little bit on the Roth conversion if it's an asset, because it may be valued at less than what your initial investment actually cost you. So it's kind of a cool thing to look into. And then the other thing with the solo 401k is that it has a participant loan option. This is not available in the IRA. Essentially, you can, for any reason, you can borrow up to $50,000 or 50% of the total plan value, whichever is less, and use it for anything you want. If you use it for a primary residence, it's got a 15-year amortization to it, paid back monthly or quarterly. It's totally up to you at an interest rate of prime plus 1%, which is about 9% right now, or which would be 9%. I think prime is 8. And then if it's used for anything other than a primary residence purchase, then it's a 5-year amortization. And again, paid back quarterly, monthly, prime plus 1%. And so that's another cool aspect of the solo 401k. We just did one actually for somebody. He's going to use his 401k to do private lending. And he's also going to use the participant loan option to fund his personal fix and flips. And 50,000 is enough for him to do that with. He probably has some money of his own he's going to put into it as well. But once you do that participant loan, that's your money to do whatever you want with. And so he's going to pay off the participant loan, and then he's going to do it again. And he's going to keep doing that until it doesn't make sense anymore. No taxes, no penalties, just interest back to your own retirement account that you benefit from down the road. So it can be a pretty cool thing to do. We've had people pay off high interest credit card debt doing this. All sorts of different things you can use that participant loan option for. And you're the plan administrator, so you self-direct. You choose whether you want to do these the participant loan or not. And so with that, I want to offer. Actually, I just want to offer this. We do offer complimentary consultations. So jump on my calendar, SenseFinancial.com /free-consultation for a private call. Not a sales call, by the way. This is an educational call. If it makes sense for us to do business together or not, if it does, great. If not, that's cool too. I promise you're going to leave with information you did not have before and guiding you in the right direction. And so I encourage you to get on my calendar. With that said, let's take some questions. Natalie, I've done a lot of talking. It's your turn. What questions do we have?
We actually don't have any questions today.
Wow, easy. You guys are easy today. Now's the time,
Yeah.
everybody, if you have any.
Oh, we do have one from Chris that just came in.
Okay.
Can you speak to the fee structure?
Sure, absolutely. So we have 2 fees, Chris. Thank you for asking. And we try and Dimitri is a big believer in the KISS principle, though he replaces the word stupid with something else like Steve or something like that. Keep it simple, Steve. I can't remember how he says it, but anyway, keep it simple. And so the 2 fees we have is, one is our establishment fee, which covers the entire first year. Okay. And even the first year annual maintenance fee. So to get started with the solo 401k, it's a flat $600. That gets you everything you need. Now, a year later, not a calendar year, but your anniversary from when you start, is when the first annual fee hits, which is a flat $250. And then no other fees at Sense Financial.
Okay, doesn't look like we have any other questions coming in. Is
Welcome,
there anything you
Chris.
want to add, Brett, before we close out our session?
Let me think. No, I don't think so. I appreciate everybody jumping on. If you do want to jump on my calendar, just a reminder, SenseFinancial.com /free-consultation. And we will have a chat. But other than that, I think I'm okay. Thank you all very much.
Okay. We do have another question.
Uh-oh.
I think we can squeeze
Last
in
minute.
from Sheila.
The
Yes.
last minute. All right.
What is the benefit of setting up an LLC attached to 401k?
Yeah. And Sheila, please do not apologize. I want questions. I love questions. It's all good. Bring on more, you guys. Well, Sheila, please type into the chat to clarify. Are you talking about an LLC as the adopting business, or are you talking about an LLC that the 401k is the member of that holds the investments that are in the 401k? So those are 2 different questions there. I'm just not clear on what you're asking. Okay. So yes, because, and just to note, the LLC can be an adopting business. That's fine, but that's outside of what she's asking. Well, you can do a special purpose LLC on top of the solo 401k. Remember, the solo 401k is a trust. So it's already set up to hold assets and self-direct. You're the trustee of that trust. You don't need to do a solo 401k. Excuse me. You don't need to do an LLC on top of that. You can. There's a couple reasons why you might do that. One, you're worried about asset protection. Okay. That could possibly be it. If you are going to do passive investing, not holding like a physical asset of real estate, if you're just going to be a private lender, for example, or invest in syndications or whatever, your liability is limited to your investment, right? So in my perspective, and again, I'm not an asset protection attorney, okay, but this is just my own personal opinion on this. The liability you have is your investment. There's no liability outside of that. You're a limited partner in those situations, right? Or just a passive investor. If you are holding real estate, maybe you want to consider the LLC. It's up to you. Everything that's in the 401k is already separated from you personally anyway. So if somebody slips and falls in a rental property that your 401k owns, it's isolated from you without the LLC. If you wanted to do like multiple special purpose LLCs to protect, investments from each other within the solo 401k, you could do that. It's complex. It's going to add cost and time and, fees each year, depending on what state you file in and you establish the LLC in. So just something to consider. I would say 99% of our clients do not do another LLC on top of the solo 401k. And they usually, if they do, they don't start like that because, again, just owning one property in there, it's already isolated from everything else. So there's no reason to start with an LLC. Some situations might be where you do like a multi-member LLC because you want to partner up with other people's retirement accounts. That might be, again, these are exceptions. Adds complication. It adds partnership tax returns. Even though there may not be an actual tax, you still have to file a 1065 tax return for that partnership. So it adds some complexity to it and some costs. Generally speaking, we advise our clients to start out with the structure as is and then modify down the road if need be. So hopefully that answers your question. Go ahead, Natalie. I see another one.
Yeah, another question from Chris. Can I still open a solo 401k even if I don't have an established entity? Say revenue earned from some occasional consulting as an individual, and is there a minimum amount required to open a solo 401k?
Good questions. Yes, you can open a solo 401k in that situation. There is no income requirement, minimum, maximum, or otherwise. And you could be a real estate agent and sell one house every other year and still sponsor a solo 401k plan. So hopefully that answers your question.
All right, I think we will wrap up our session. If there are additional questions, please reach out to our office, or you can use the link that Brett provided to schedule a call with him. He'd be happy to discuss your situation with you. Again, thank you for joining. Hope you all have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.